let me change things up a bit here. So normally, if you're on my channel and you're watching videos, you're going to get Bible teaching. So you're going to get an exposition. You're going to hear me share a passage or a chunk of the Bible or a chapter or maybe even a single verse. And the goal is that I'm sharing with you the intention of the author. So what does the author mean here? What was the purpose that he penned this text? What is his intention? And from there, I'll usually share not simply the intention, but now the contemporary relevance. How then shall we live? As Francis Schaeffer put it years ago. So you're getting the interpretation of the text, and then you're getting the application. Sometimes also I share different Q&As, so different people ask me different questions, or there are very questions that are pretty well searched and people are trying to get the answers. So I spend some time doing that. I also want to be able to teach people how to read their Bible, teach people how to interpret it correctly, and things of that nature. So my channel is a Bible teaching channel. That being said, I wanted to kind of just take a little detour a bit and do a reaction. You probably are familiar with different reaction channels, although I want mine to be different. I'm not I'm not against discernment channels, and Christians going and talking about other Christians and things like that. I suppose maybe there's a place for that, but I actually want to be able to interact with people in the community, in the unbelieving community, that is. So the first person I wanted to interact with is Dr. Tyson. So he's an astrophysicist. I really think he's a wonderful individual, really kind person. He seems to really care about society. He seems to want to make society better. I have a number of his books. The one I'm reading now is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. It's very good. I am not in the field of science. I enjoy science. I don't have the highest IQ, I would imagine. Never taken an IQ test, but I do enjoy science, and I wanted to interact with a video that was made. It must have been made, I don't know, 7-10 years ago maybe. So I wanted to just kind of think through what he's saying in this video and bring out some insight of my own, maybe some questions that I would have, maybe even some things I don't quite understand. And if you have thoughts about it, you can, of course, place something in the comments as well. But let's go ahead and let me just kind of lower this for everybody. So let me move things around here. All right, let's go ahead and get started and start watching this.
Important point. This is not all people in the world. This is Americans, religious people. It depends on which study you get. You ask, do you pray to a personal God? These numbers vary, but they're high and they're up around 90%. Okay?
So he never does exactly say where he's getting the numbers. So that's one thing that that would be my first question. Where are you getting the data? And I don't think there's anything wrong with any of his data, except maybe some things at the end I think I have questions about.
It might be 85. That's actually not important. That difference is not important for the point I'm about to make. It's high, okay? In the West, in America, 90%. Okay? What percentage of educated people are religious? The number drops. I'm talking about graduate degrees here. Among all people with masters and PhDs, the religiosity drops.
I find that to be interesting because the Bible never says that if you are smart, there's a greater chance of being converted to Christ. Or if you have a high education, if you have a master's degree or a PhD, the likelihood is that you will give your life to Christ. Or on the other end, there's no indication that would suggest that if you don't have the highest IQ or if you're not extremely educated, that you won't give your life to Christ or that you will give your life to Christ. It's not that simple. So it's interesting, nonetheless, that the number drops here.
Somewhere around 60%, might be 65. The point is, it drops with education level. Now let's bring in scientists. How about what percentage of scientists in America are religious? You average over all the branches, it's about 40%, maybe 35%. In there's a range, of course. Biologists, physicists, astrophysicists.
There's a Poole. There was a book written back in the 1980s by a guy named Mike Poole, and he's talking all about scientists and God. And back then, the number was 40% believed in a personal God. So, it doesn't seem like the number has changed here. And I don't think the number has changed even here today. But once again, I suppose it depends on what surveys you're looking at or what polls. So,
or lower, the sort of engineers and mathematicians are higher. So it averages out to about 40%. So this looks like scientists are 40% down from 90% from the general public. But that's the wrong, no, it's 40% down from 60% because all scientists have graduate degrees. So the graduate degree in any subject gets you halfway there. The science is the increment from the educated degrees. From the all educated people. That takes it down to 40%. Now you go to the elite scientists. This is a well-known number, 7%.
Okay, so this is where I would have a question. Who decides who the elite scientists are? Is there some standard reference? I think of it this way, as someone that studies the scriptures, that's pretty educated when it comes to the scriptures. I'm not a scholar by any means, but I've read enough knowledge to know who I think the best guys and girls are when it comes to the scriptures. There are certain individuals that are fantastic when it comes to literary genre. There are certain people that you must consult if you're going to think through apocalyptic literature in the book of Revelation. There are others who are fantastic when it comes to the New Testament. When it comes to Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic, there are certain individuals. When I think about the New Testament in general, I think D.A. Carson is pretty well-rounded. When I think about the Psalms, C. Hassel Bullock is fantastic. I think about various individuals. So I can say who I think the most elite theologians are, so to speak. But that's subjective. I have individuals that I know that are fascinated, and they praise certain biblical commentators as elite. And I think to myself, I don't know if I would consider them elite. So my point is, it's a bit subjective. So that would be my question here. Where did the 7% come from, and who decided that these individuals are the elite scientists?
Are religious, claiming a personal God to whom they pray and intervene in their lives. I submit to you that with the current atheist fervor that has taken on over the past several years, I would say the modern atheists are called, launched by the Dawkins book and the Hitchens book and the Sam Harris book and the like. And I was just in Borders recently. Couldn't believe it. Sorry I didn't have a camera. Borders books. There it was. A section called Atheism. It was like, I'd never seen that before. It's like, okay. There it was. They had enough critical mass of books to make a section. So, here's my problem. Here's my concern. When you're educated and you understand how physics works and you're mathematically literate and you understand data and you understand experiment and you go up to someone who doesn't have that training and they are religious and you ask them, why are you religious and believing in invisible things that influence your life? What's wrong with you? Okay? That's unfair. It's not only unfair, it's disrespectful.
See, this is why I really like Dr. Tyson. I think that he is a respectful person. I think that he's a strong critical thinker. He's also very nice. He wants to better society. And for him to kind of throw out this gentle rebuke, I think is good, because there are people that feel that, they are not taken seriously if they are religious. So I applaud him for what he just said.
For the following reason. Until that number is zero, you've got nothing to say to the general public. These are scientists among us in the National Academy of Sciences who are religious and pray to a personal God, and I know some of them. And you're fighting the public for their religious beliefs? Figure that one out first, because maybe there's an asymptote. Maybe you can't change everybody. Maybe that's telling us something. Maybe there's something in the brain wiring that positively prevents some people from ever being an atheist.
Okay, so I want to stop there. So I want to say that a lot of people just completely miss the point. So what he's saying here is that, potentially maybe there's something in the wiring, there's something in the biology or the DNA of a person that leads them to not be able to be converted. And I think herein lies the problem. Conversion is a supernatural event that takes place in a person's life. It is when the Holy Spirit draws you, when you are regenerated. It is an absolute miracle that takes place. You talk to many Christians, and how they describe it, especially if they were converted in their adult years, is they describe it as they finally came to the point in which they completely surrendered to the truth. They surrendered to something that they realized that they could no longer avoid. You think about the Apostle Paul, he was kicking against the goads forever, and finally he came to the realization that he could not deny Christ any longer. C.S. Lewis talks about how he was the most reluctant convert ever. I know of another scholar. I just had lunch with a Bible scholar and talked with him, and he said, I finally came to the point where I said, I can no longer deny that Christ has called me. So Ephesians 2:8-9 says that it is by grace through faith that we are saved, that faith is a gift of God. And I challenge anyone, don't think that you have to be born in a certain environment or that you have to be wired a certain way. That's not the issue. The issue is we receive the gift of faith by God. He supernaturally intervenes. And the scripture tells us that we as people, we as human beings, must seek him earnestly. The challenge for all is to humbly seek that gift. Humbly seek it. Faith is so often a journey. It's not that all of a sudden you just flip a switch. Faith is not like, it's not like a tap. You can't just flip a switch or something and then faith happens. Often it's a journey. It's a journey. For some people it takes years, and then bam, everything changes and they bend their knee to the Lord. So anyway, I respect Dr. Tyson, so much smarter than me, a phenomenal person. He's probably done so much more for society than me. So I greatly respect him. But here we differ, certainly, and I want to challenge you guys to think through this video, think through what he said, and maybe leave me some of your opinions down below. Well, thank you so much. God bless you in the way.